Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to react to every sport's biggest stadium. Now, I think football, like soccer, the biggest stadium I think is Barcelona's stadium, the Nou Camp, which I think is about 100,000, maybe 110,000, something like that. But I think there's a stadium, a college stadium in America that's like 120,000, maybe, which is just insane. Like, that's a huge amount of people. Even if it's just 100,000, that's just tons and tons of people. You know, imagine the noise that it makes when, you know, somebody scores. Like, if every person in that stadium at the same time, you know, yells, it must register on the Richter scale, honestly. So I'm quite excited to see, you know, what the biggest arena is for each stadium.
The biggest stadium of every sport. Now, when I say every sport, I mean most major sports. Because some sports don't really have stadiums.
This is true.
And some sports are just too obscure, like buzkashi, where they drag around a goat carcass.
What?
Also, I haven't included sports with like a tiny playing surface, like boxing or table tennis, because they can pretty much play wherever they please. With that being said, let's get into it. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Aaron A. Aronson Ball.
You're joking.
I'm just joking, of course. That's one of those obscure sports that I won't include.
There's an actual sport called Aaron A. Aronson Ball? Really? No way.
We'll actually start off with auto racing. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a very famous place in motorsports. It's known the world over, and it's definitely what the city of Indianapolis is most well known for.
And they must do the
It was
Indy
actually the
500.
first racetrack to be called a speedway.
400,000 is crazy.
Tokyo Aquatic Center. Well, outside of the Olympics, aquatics doesn't really get much attention, so it makes sense that the Olympics Aquatic Center is the biggest in the world. However, the venues are usually downsized after the Olympics, so this one might not be the biggest for that long. Now on to baseball. Dodgers
That's a good looking stadium. I like it. It's modern, simple yet modern.
Stadium is built into a ravine and has a great view of the mountains. Interestingly, it was built on the site of a former cemetery.
Wow.
It's also one of the oldest Major League Baseball stadiums.
So what did they do with all the coffins and stuff from the old cemetery? Did they relocate them to another cemetery?
Basketball, the Philippine Arena. The Philippines loves their basketball.
Or maybe the coffins had disintegrated by then, had decomposed.
Sometimes they get a bit carried away, but basketball is just one of many uses for this arena, including church services. Cricket. Motera Stadium is the biggest stadium in the free world, in a land that absolutely loves cricket. Since it opened, it hasn't actually had the chance to have a full crowd for a cricket match. But you just know the atmosphere will be incredible.
Insane.
I like the orange and blue seats as well.
110k is mental.
Cheese rolling. Audi Arena, Oberstdorf. Cheese rolling has gone international, and it's now the second fastest growing sport behind cow tipping.
No.
Germany is leading the way in cheese rolling infrastructure. As you can see, those huge ramps are where the cheese is released, and those are the runner starting blocks down there. There's also a high-tech matting on the slope that helps keep the cheese from growing mold on the way down the hill. Wait, does a rolling cheese gather mold? Don't know.
No.
If you're wondering why there are multiple different sized ramps, well, the big ramps are for the big wheels of Brie, Camembert, Gruyere, and Gouda. And the little one there is for Baby Bell. So cute.
Yeah, there's a cheese rolling competition in Gloucestershire here in England, and it looks so dangerous. Like, if any of you get a moment, I think I reacted to a video about it. It's like there's multiple people taken away in ambulances at the end of each competition.
Cycling, Kitakyushu Media Dome. Cycling is really big in Japan apparently. It's known locally as Kirin. It was one of only a handful of sports that you were allowed to bet on back in the day, which led to its popularity.
Wow, look at
Esports.
this.
Chongqing Zhongjiang Esports Stadium. That sounds like I'm making fun, but it is actually Chongqing, I promise. They love their gaming in China, so much so that gaming addiction is an actual epidemic.
Really?
And you might say that it's not a real sport, but the extreme duress that these guys and girls go through is up there with the likes of rugby, MMA, and marathon running. You just can't really see it. I mean, if they get an itch, they can't scratch it. And they can go several minutes without blinking.
Wow.
And just look at that thumb movement. You can't look at that and tell me it's not sport. That is majestic. These people are modern day warriors. Anyway, back to the real sport.
To be fair, like sitting down staring at a screen for, if you're a professional esports person, you got to be playing at least 10 hours a day? That has got to be so like draining for you, like mentally, not good for your eyesight either.
Now on to the sports that call themselves football. Except for rugby, we'll just call that rugby. Starting off with American football.
Michigan, 107.
Michigan Stadium, or the Big House as it's known, is just a big bowl of loudness. It doesn't really look like it has a capacity of over 100,000, but the single-tier bowl structure, combined with bench seating, is a little deceiving, makes it look a bit smaller than it is.
110k is mental.
Canadian football, Commonwealth Stadium.
What's the difference between Canadian football and American football?
Yes, it is a different sport, just barely. As you may have noticed by the name and the fact that it has a running track, it was built for the Commonwealth Games, which is kind of like the Olympics, except it gives Australia an inflated ego. Association football. Mayday Stadium was the brainchild of the OG King.
Oh, is association football basically football, like soccer?
It was built out of jealousy that South Korea was hosting the Olympics. You could argue that it isn't purpose-built for football due to the track. So the biggest purpose-built football stadium is Camp Nou in Barcelona.
Yeah. Smaller than I thought though. Still 100 grand. 100,000.
Australian rules football.
Wow.
The MCG is by far the most iconic stadium in Australia. It hosts the final of the AFL every year, with a few exceptions, and it's the biggest stadium in the Southern Hemisphere, which in my opinion is one of the best hemispheres in the world. GAA. Well, it's more than one sport,
Gaelic
it's actually
football.
the governing body for Gaelic sports in Ireland, and it's strictly amateur. The main two sports of GAA, hurling and Gaelic football, use the same stadiums, and Croke Park is by far the largest.
Nice looking
It's
stadium.
also the home to the GAA headquarters. Hurling, despite it being a synonym for throwing up, does actually look pretty fun. Golf. It's not really a sport known for its stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, golf is usually held on parks and things like that. This is a interesting looking facility right here.
For obvious reasons, but there are some. The biggest being the stadium course at Scottsdale. I can't even concentrate on my swing if a kangaroo is looking at me. I can't imagine what it's like to play golf in a stadium packed full of people.
Because they'd have to be so quiet, the audience.
Hockey. Gaddafi Hockey Stadium. Yes, that Gaddafi. Despite cricket being more popular in Pakistan, hockey is actually the official sport, whatever that means. And it's actually bigger than any cricket stadium in the country. But not for long.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Not for long. Horse racing. Tokyo Racecourse.
200,000.
One of the oldest sports going round has some of the biggest capacities going round. Mostly standing room though. Tokyo Racecourse has about 14,000 seats.
Okay.
Ice hockey, Bell Centre. Well, it's one of the main things that Canada is known for. And not only is it in Canada, but it's also home to a team called the Canadians.
I thought it would be bigger, to be fair, with how popular NHL is. Like 20,000, it's not that big a stadium.
It's a good thing they chose the name Bell Centre, otherwise it would have been Bell Arena. Rugby League, Stadium Australia. It was built for the 2000 Olympics and is currently home to a few rugby league clubs. It occasionally hosts other sports as well, including international soccer. Oh, I'm sorry, football. Please don't kill me. Rugby Union, Twickenham Stadium.
Here in London,
Although
not far from
Stadium
me.
Australia hosts the occasional rugby union match,
Why have they made the field look like that? Like, maybe this photo was taken before it finished construction, because it looks like a patch of, like, farmland.
that makes up a very small portion of the matches that take place there. Twickenham, however, is the purpose-built home of English rugby, so it has to be Twickenham. I love watching international rugby at Twickenham. There's something special about that stadium. Tennis, Arthur Ashe Stadium. Is the main stadium for the US Open.
I see.
It originally didn't have a roof, but one was added in 2016. The tall, steep seating provides an excellent view for the spectators and an intimidating atmosphere for the players.
I've heard that it gets really, really hot. I think there was a player, Nedved, I think, who complained that someone was going to die, like, playing a game here because it got so hot at this last US Open.
Unless you're Roger Federer, of course. Everybody loves that guy. Track and field. Well, it's Mayday Stadium again.
Same one.
Yeah.
Why did they build it when, they've got such poor relations with the rest of the world, or at least most of the world? When do you think an international tournament's going to be held in North Korea? Like, not in the foreseeable future. So it's just a waste of money, really.
But I think the biggest track and field only stadium would probably be the University of Oregon's recently renovated Hayward Field. I could be wrong on that one though. And I've sort of just lumped in all winter sports together because, well, I haven't got all day and neither do you, probably. Holman Kolbakken.
Wow, look at this.
If you couldn't tell earlier, of course,
Cool.
that so-called cheese rolling stadium was a ski jumping facility. The biggest ski jumping facility is in the home of winter sports, Norway. Which is fitting because there is no way I'd ever ski down one of those ramps. But seriously, 70,000 people watching ski jumping. They don't even do tricks. I'm joking, of course. That would actually be pretty cool to see.
Don't they do flips and stuff?
And that's basically all the major...
I need to get to the Michigan stadium, the big house. Like, what is it? 107,600 capacity. The noise generated in there must be insane, off the charts, just crazy, especially when they do the football entrances where they start playing that song. I think they play dun, doo, 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 doo. Sandman, Enter Sandman. That just being there, feeling that the noise just go through you must be out of this world. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.